all businesses need an exit strategy. It's like an insurance policy against the unknown and unexpected. The question really is not if, but when will your business reach a point when you'll have to move on, whether willingly or unwillingly. For example, we all know Walmart, started by Sam Walton. He was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in history, but unknown to many people at the time he was starting Walmart, paying taxes was very, very onerous and tax rates were exorbitantly high. One of the things Sam Walton did was he transferred the interest in Walmart to each and every one of his children, including his wife. And so when he suddenly died, his children and wife automatically continued to hold their interest in Walmart without him having to transfer ownership interest to them after his demise. So when looking at the world's richest people, you can see that each of the Waltons have been in the top 10. And the reason for this was because the patriarch Sam Walton built a business as a means of transferring wealth to his children and his heirs. So this is what is meant when I refer to as building a business with the end in mind, rather than building an asset that upon his unexpected demise, most of the value he created would either gone by the way of taxes or immediately divided the ownership interest among his own heirs in a way that he hadn't planned. So with an exit plan, you get to control the transfer of ownership to your own wishes and desires. Exit planning also averts tragedy of closing the business doors and letting the business die by attrition. If there's no plan in place to extract value from it, there's no way for the business to close in a way that'll benefit you most. So to ensure continuity in the business operations, a deliberate effort can be made to ensure that the next generation of owners has the same strategic objectives that you do, and they align with what you as the original founder want done with the business. A well-articulated and executed exit strategy can help extract staggering value from the business. Because you plan well ahead what your business would be worth based on the knowledge you acquired from buying other businesses, you're in a better position to vet your own buyer arguments and tell them what the business is worth, like I explained in the last video on how to make sure that you're not taken advantage of at the negotiation table. The exit plan can facilitate purposeful living, especially where the venture was an opportunistic one and the owner needs to move on to other pursuits, or someone needs to extract immediate value from the operations while the venture is still going. It provides an avenue for rewarding all the key players in the early days of the venture, including key employees, by monetizing their stakes or interests through an exit event. Even with a money-losing venture, with an exit plan, you can still sell your business and make a profit. Timing can also be a critical factor in selling the business, and the best time, of course, to sell is when the business is on an upswing. I have a client right now that owns a hydraulic repair business. They repair hydraulic motors and hoses, and they sell fittings to the farmers and the oil field businesses here locally. It's a family business with two couples running the company for 30 plus years. About 6 years ago, one of the husbands died, and the other husband took on more responsibility. Well, 6 months ago, that husband died too. And now it's being run by two 72-year-old widows who are in very poor health. Actually, I could say it's just barely hanging on, not really being run. It's just limping along and barely surviving. And I just mentioned that even with a losing venture, you can still make a profit. But in order to make that happen, you have to have the marketing and systemization already in place. Now, unfortunately, these two ladies are contemplating selling the business because they really don't have the strength or desire to continue running the company, and they want to move closer to their family for the remaining years of their lives. Their husbands did not have a well thought out exit plan either, so they really don't have many options, and this could have all been avoided by having a properly documented and executed exit plan. So having an exit plan is brought about by tragedy is a terrible time to have an exit plan. There will be no way for these two widows to get any substantial value out of their businesses other than maybe the value of the physical assets, because they're in dire need to sell the company just to cover their daily living expenses. So currently the plan is very limited in options on how they can exit. The possibility of a large payday is just about non-existent, and they're having to make some very tough realizations that what they thought they had as a thriving business would have been much more valuable to them had they planned to exit before any one of the four partners had died. But this plan would have had to start being planned many years prior. Actually, a convenient time would have been when they did any kind of purchase of life insurance and began to think about the true succession of their personal assets, since the business really is a huge personal asset. Myself, had someone else not pointed out to me that now was the best time to sell, the business had just experienced 3 years of phenomenal growth. I had just received tremendous exposure through winning Market of the Year contest, and the business systems had already been in place for years, running the business with great return on investment. So the sale went smoothly, and the size of the sale met my goals. But had someone not pointed out that my situation could have been very, very similar to the ladies I just mentioned, I might have hung on to the business, and as my drive dwindled, or God forbid I died in a few years, the business would have been left to my wife, and she would have been given the burden to sell the company. If this would have happened, things could have turned out very differently. So timing is also important in your plan for selling. And the best time to have a plan would be when you've started the business, but the second best time is actually right now. As an exit strategy is today, not next week, next year. Right now is a time for you to start planning your exit of that business.